the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and today we're going to preview the 49ers Week 3 home opening matchup against the NFC West rival Arizona Cardinals, and this is a battle of undefeated teams. One of them will remain undefeated, advance to 3-0 on Sunday, and one of these teams will suffer their first loss of the 2025 season. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe on the audio podcasting platforms. Leave us that 5-star review, and let's dive in to Week 3 of the NFL. Niners home opener against the Arizona Cardinals. Who do you think wins? Drop those comments down below, and this is going to be a slugfest, a dogfight. The 49ers coming in. They beat the Seattle Seahawks Week 1. They snuck by the Saints last weekend in Week number 2. They're looking to remain undefeated, looking to defend their home turf for the first time in 2025 after back-to-back road wins to begin their season. They want to remain undefeated, obviously, but more importantly, they want to further prove that last year, 2024, was a blip on the radar. It's not who they are. They're back, they're refreshed, and they are motivated to push their way back atop the NFC West, back into the playoff picture, and winning this Sunday, being 2-0 in the division to begin your season, will go a long way to doing so. Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals are coming off a game that was probably closer than they wanted it to be, a little closer for comfort against the Carolina Panthers that saw their secondary get decimated by injuries, yet they are still 2-0 in a great spot coming into San Francisco and hoping to spoil the Niners' home opener. It is year 3 of Jonathan Gannon as their head coach, and the Cardinals believe they are ready to take that next step, take that big leap into the playoff hunt, and hopefully make the playoffs for the first time since I believe the year 2020. It's been a long 5 years. That was back when it was Kyler and Cliff Kingsbury, and they had a terrible game against the Rams on the road at SoFi Stadium. They're back trying to push their way into the playoff picture just like San Francisco. In the show today, we're going to dive into how San Francisco can win, what could make them lose this game, and why I believe this Niners offense and defense will have a really big game in front of them. They have to win this one. This is a must-win game. You're probably not going to have Brock Purdy, but I'll tell you why. Without Brock Purdy, if they don't have him, it won't even matter that much. We all know this, that Brock may play Sunday. But all the talking points have been as the emergency third quarterback, as the backup quarterback. Thus, we are going to operate as Mac Jones being the starter Week 3 against the Cardinals. So if Brock Purdy plays, even better. Do I think there's a risk there? Yes, I would not play him. It is a turf toe variant. Why risk your franchise quarterback in Week 3? Give him the week off, make him a backup, but we are going to operate as Mac Jones being the starting quarterback in Week 3. And if it is Brock, then they should be in a better spot to win this game on Sunday. But we're going to dive into the Cardinals offense, their strengths, their weaknesses. Same thing for their defense, their strengths and their weaknesses, and where I think the Niners can exploit them this weekend. So without further ado, let's dive into the Cardinals offense. And this offense is very Kevin Stefanski-like, who was with the Vikings a couple years ago as their OC, now with the Browns the last few years. And it is very Shanahan Stefanski-like in how they operate. They're going to get guys. They want to run the football. It's the wide zone, inside zone stuff. It's going to be what this defense has seen for a very long time. They practice against some sort of a variant of it almost every single day, so there is some familiarity there if you are San Francisco facing off against the Cardinals. Obviously, you play them 2 games a year, but you know how their offense wants to operate. However, I do think the Cardinals' 2-0 start does have somewhat of an asterisk next to it because you've played the Saints, who I think are not a great team by any means, but they'll fight. They're gritty. And the Panthers, who look like they might have one of the worst defenses in football and an offense that has really had a hard time finding its footing outside of a second-half push against Arizona's defense after they got hurt in Week 2. However, they have an MO to begin the year. What they do is the Cardinals jump out to early leads against teams like the Saints and the Panthers, and they slowly let their opponent back in the game. Week 1 against the Saints, they're winning that game 17-10. They won that game 20-13. 17-10 going into halftime, and they only mustered 1 field goal. Not great for your offense, and really a great job by the Cardinals defense to save them in that game because the offense wasn't putting points on the board. Meanwhile, week number 2 against the Panthers, they were up 20-3, and they won that game 27-22. 7 second half points. In total, the Cardinals this year have only scored 10 total second half points. They jump out to early leads, and they hope to maintain them throughout. San Francisco this year has scored 20 second-half points. The way the Cardinals have won football games is not going to be the way they can win this game against San Francisco if the Niners are playing their A or at least B-plus game. But we all know, questioning how do you stop the Arizona Cardinals? It isn't about Marvin Harrison Jr. or Michael Wilson or Trey McBride or even James Conner. It will always revert back to the question, how do you stop Kyler Murray? Now, I believe Kyler has a really high ceiling. However, he also at times, and pretty much throughout the last 4 or 5 years, is a first-half player in games and during the season and falters late, whether due to injury or inconsistencies creep in. We're in the first half. He's a very scary quarterback to play against. He doesn't turn the ball over, 27th ranked in turnover-worthy plays. I think only 2 interceptions this year. Not much on his docket, but again, 27th in turnover-worthy plays. He is not going to give you a chance to get the ball back. That's not his game, not his MO. And then we all know quarterback-designed runs. Now, Kyler has since come out and said in previous years that he doesn't really like to use the read option. He wants to run less, utilize his legs only when necessary to create plays. So you will see a dialed-back quarterback run or design runs in this game. However, with that said, Kyler also had last year in 2024 the most yards per carry on quarterback design runs. He's a weapon. How do you stop that if you are San Francisco? He is their biggest, as of through 3 weeks, their biggest quarterback test. I could even argue the Cardinals' offense probably is the best offense they're going to play through these first 4 games entering into 2025. The Seahawks are okay. Their offense is kind of limited in what they can do. The Saints aren't very good offensively. And then there's the Cardinals and the Jaguars, which the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen are, they're fighting on sidelines and whatnot, and they can't move the football. the Cardinals are able to move the football in first half of games and will give San Francisco's defense a pretty big test. The Cardinals, as well, on top of Murray's mobility being a problem for San Francisco, it's been a problem ever since 2019, his rookie season. The Cardinals will not usually test a defense down the field. Everything is intermediate, on the boundaries, behind the line of scrimmage. They do not test defenses downfield very often. In fact, Kyler Murray's attempts, only 13% of them are 20-plus yards down the field. And they have a really hard time connecting with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson, guys you like to find, 20, 30, 40 yards downfield, guys you drafted to utilize their speed, utilize their larger builds to beat cornerbacks downfield. A big reason for that, though, is, why can't the Cardinals connect 20 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards downfield with the wide receivers? Because despite how good the Cardinals' offensive line has been in regards to PFF scores and, the SIS scores and what the true passing set grades look like, Kyler Murray has been pressured on nearly 1/3% of his snaps this season. He's been sacked 6 times. 5 of those came week 1 against the New Orleans Saints. And no offense to the Saints or the Panthers, San Francisco's defensive line is much better, has an elite edge rusher in Nick Bosa, has young guys playing up to par, Micah Williams the first 2 weeks or so. Bryce Huff looks insane, a 90% pressure grade in week 2 against New Orleans. Now, again, the Cardinals' offensive line is better, and they can protect Kyler better than the Saints could Rattler or the Seahawks could Sam Darnold, but the Niners walk in with the 5th highest PFF passing graded defense in football, pass rushing grade, defense in football, against an offensive line giving up nearly 33% pressure rate, which is not great. Again, it's awkward saying that and also saying the offensive line is good as a whole. The niche part of this is it's not the tackles. Paris Johnson is incredible blocking Kyler's blindside. Jonah Williams has done an admirable job blocking his not blindside, if you will, playing right tackle. And the center has also done a pretty good job blocking for Kyler. It is the guards. And this is why you have to have guys like Micah Williams, like Alfred Collins, like Kalia Davis, guys, whoever are playing the inside, Yetur Gross-Matos, who has been awesome playing the interior for San Francisco. The Cardinals' guards have been terrible. They've given up the most pressures on that offensive line. 6 of the 10 pressures that have been given up by the offensive line, which, keep in mind, pressures are not always given up by the offensive line. Sometimes it's tight ends, sometimes it's blitzes where the offensive linemen are not supposed to block those guys. So as strictly the 5 starting offensive line, 6 of their 10 pressures have been given up by guards Evan Brown and Isaiah Adams. It is imperative San Francisco gets some inside push in this game. I think Micah Williams, Yetur Gross-Matos, this will be a game for them. And on top of that, could we see Alfred Collins and CJ West finally break through? Collins was really good last week against New Orleans. West has been slowly coming along. This could be a game for them to beat the Cardinals on the interior. Whether they bring Kyler down, yet to be seen, but, just get some push, force him out of the pocket. San Francisco has been 10 times better than last year at setting a hard edge, keeping quarterbacks inside. You rarely see Darnold and Rattler scramble outside the pocket. It's been kind of a broken play or kind of a play that, they make a move to get outside or make a guy miss on the interior. It's never been or rarely ever is Rattler or the quarterback Darnold getting around Bosa or Michael or Samuel Kawanu. It's simply been, broken play. They panic, they scramble for, 4 or 5 yards, or if you get lucky, a big gain. But even that was based on Gross Matos knocking D. Winters off a rattler in New Orleans. So it's really important San Francisco gets some interior pressure, pushes the Cardinals' offensive line back, and take advantage of their offensive line, of an offense giving up a 33% pressure rate. You can get your hands on Kyler. Getting him down, a little different, but the Saints brought him down 5 times. And if the Niners continue to have success on the ground or against the ground game of Arizona, which in this game they should, they will get Kyler into 3rd and longs, force him to throw. Yes, utilize his legs some, and he'll beat you. He will. That's his job, and he's great at doing so, but it'll give them more opportunities to get off the field and hopefully stymie some of the Cardinals' offensive drives, which, again, the Cardinals have been get out early, kind of, falter late. The Cardinals will have to play a complete game to beat San Francisco in this one.
This episode is brought to you by ESPN. Catch the first WWE Premium Live event on ESPN, WrestlePalooza, live on Saturday, September 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be an epic night in Indianapolis, featuring some of the biggest WWE superstars. This event is only on ESPN, so go to stream.espn.com and sign up to the ESPN app today for your all-access pass to WrestlePalooza and all WWE Premium Live events.
We talked about getting the football downfield to your wide receivers. While I do think San Francisco holds an advantage over the Cardinals based on their pressure, their defensive line against the Cardinals' offensive line, especially on the interior, the Cardinals will try to take deep shots downfield. And we have seen the last 2 weeks that despite the Cardinals being an average deep shot taking team, 13% of Murray's attempts, they'll try at times. And they'll miss, but they'll try, especially early in games. And so I do think San Francisco really has to keep an eye on Bernardo Green, who has struggled the last 2 games, albeit has rounded things back into form late. Early in games against the Saints and the Seahawks, back-to-back 40-yard receptions. You can't do that. He got lucky last week with Olave dropping a pass behind him from Rattler that was a clear, wide-open touchdown pass. Green, early in games, has been a liability. I expect the Cardinals to target him early and often in this game. Lenore has been great. Stout will have his own problems being a shorter guy, but feisty in coverage as he is. Green, to me, early. The Cardinals have speed. Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., those guys can get downfield. And if San Francisco cannot get or generate interior pressure and force Kyler to move out of the pocket and make a play, they'll take a shot. And I would not be shocked early in this game if Green, like in Seattle and like in New Orleans, is tested early. One of the big question marks, though, for the Cardinals is how do you get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr.? Through 2 games, only 10 targets. Could this be a game where they see, Green's not been great for San Francisco giving up deep balls. We haven't been great hitting them. Well, match made in heaven. Let's target him 4 or 5 times, 3 or 4 times, and try to get MHJ going, in this game often. So watch out for that. The media's already been asking about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s targets, and he's been saying, we want all that matters, but deep down, receivers are divas, and they want the football. So watch out for that this Sunday. The Niners will also have to see how Upton Stout battles Michael Wilson in this game. Maybe you see another combination of, Upton Stout guards Greg Dortch, and maybe you have Lenore shadow one of the guys. The Cardinals don't really have a formidable, receiving core. They have 2 guys you like. Dortch is a kind of good gadget guy, slot dude, but he's not going to be a game wrecker, if you will. I think Stout guarding Dortch is a great matchup for him. Smaller guys, ball shifty, feisty dudes that want to make some plays, but Wilson's a larger receiver for Stout to go against. Could you see Chase Lucas? Probably not, but could you see Jair Brown back in coverage during zone schematics as they played against New Orleans? That's certainly an option. Maybe you see Jair Brown more on base downs and zone coverage instead of man coverage on third down. So we'll see how Saleh kind of mixes and match things. I think maybe when Trey McBride is in the slot, maybe you see Jair Brown on the field in which they expect McBride to be in the slot. That's an option for them. Having a bigger body tackler on the field to bring down McBride could be, I think, a mismatch or kind of something San Francisco utilizes in their favor to say, hey, Stout's great and all, but he's a small dude. McBride's going to run through him plenty of times. Get Brown out there, have him play the slot or nickel at times, match up with McBride. He's going to give up catches against whoever it is. McBride's awesome. He's a great player. Definitely a Pro Bowl talent, if not one of the best in football at tight end. But I do think that you may see Jair Brown against McBride a handful of times in this game. But we all know this, that you have McBride, great tight end. There's also Fred Warner, also D. Winters. Those guys can cover him. They are the best linebacking duo in football through 2 games. I will stand by that. They've been awesome. They've been tremendous. I do think that they have enough to slow down the Cardinals' offense on defense. They can get pressure. They have the coverage skills, but we all can kind of agree that the Cardinals have given San Francisco some problems in the past, and they're a feisty team. They have never been one to back down. We saw them a couple years ago spoil a season for San Francisco. We're almost doing it against Colt McCoy, where all the guys were hurt in San Francisco, couldn't bring a win home at Levi Stadium. I think it was 2021. I think. And then last year, obviously, they swept San Francisco, and they used James Conner to just battering ram San Francisco's terrible defensive line. So I don't think, though, the Cardinals will have the same success against San Francisco's defensive line as they had last year. Now, they are utilizing a 2 running back system, James Conner and Trey Benson. While both those guys are tremendous talents, Conner, I think, is one of the most underrated running backs in football. He's a great pass catcher. They utilize him in so many different ways: the screen game, the check down game, the running game. He is an awesome offensive threat for them. He's had so much success against San Francisco. Again, last year at Levi Stadium, that was the one big Ayuk game he had. We all said, oh, he's back. Mason fumbles at the goal line. Then Conner puts the game on ice. And Murray has an amazing 3rd or 4th down conversion where he runs 4 or 5 seconds around, scrambling, what do I do? What do I do? And then finds a guy open on kind of a jump ball gimme. It's oh my God, what just happened? I don't think that's going to happen this Sunday. The Cardinals this year on the ground are averaging 4.5 yards per carry, which isn't terrible. It's far better than San Francisco's averaging, so there is that. But they have been primarily a passing offense this year. It's a 60-40 split for them, 54 passing attempts and 34 rushing attempts, so more heavily leaning towards being a passing offense. I'm sure they will try to even that out this Sunday, play a little keep away, especially if they can get that early lead. Why not do that in the second half? However, and this is why I think San Francisco will have more success outside of having better personnel, on run defense, better bodies in that room. The way they're playing against the run is much better. The Cardinals come into week 2 with the 2nd worst run-blocking offensive line in football at a 42.8 PFF grade. They're not a good run-blocking team, hence why they find themselves in more 3rd downs, hence why they can't put games away late. They have not been able to find success on the ground continually through 4 quarters of play against the Panthers and against the Saints, which the NFC South isn't great as a whole. Both those teams are 0-2 for a reason right now. San Francisco is 2-0 in front of their home crowd with a much better run-defending defensive line. And again, going back to Micah Williams through 2 games, already being a massive key to victory for San Francisco. When he's on the field, San Francisco has, I believe, a 66.5% run defense success grade. It's pretty good. When first-round pick Micah Williams is off the field on run defending downs, that drops 40 points to 25%. You want to talk about an instant impact player for San Francisco? That has been Micah Williams. His hands, his reach, he will be a massive factor in this game for San Francisco against the run, but also, like we already said, against the pass, getting interior pass rushing pressure on Kyler Murray against those guards. And we talk about the Cardinals' lack of rushing offense. Again, 4.5 yards is fine. That's fine. But it's the continual ability to do so. Hence why the Panthers almost came back. Hence why the Saints were in that game late. Hence why the Cardinals are not putting teams away. When you are up 22, whatever it was, against the Panthers, when you're up 22-3 and you only score 7 more points, the odds are you're not going to score 27 points against San Francisco. The odds are the Niners are going to play a more complete game than the Panthers and the Saints will. The odds are the Niners' run defense will continue to stop the Cardinals on the ground, forcing them into third downs like the Saints game. The Cardinals' offense this year has a 40.9, a 41% third down conversion. That is 17th, essentially average in the NFL. They're not great on third down. They're not great putting teams away and are over-reliant on Kyler to make plays. Now, Kyler is a good quarterback. He's given San Francisco so many problems, but with the offensive line of the Cardinals having some issues, the offense, again, giving up a 33% pressure rate and 6 sacks through 2 weeks, 5 against the Saints, 1 against the Panthers, San Francisco's defense really is set up nicely to take advantage of that this week. And I think they should be able to, for one of the first times under the Murray regime in Arizona, hone things in now. It doesn't erase what Kyler can do. He can do superhuman things with his legs, has a good arm. But I do think that the Niners are set up, especially better than last season, to take advantage of how bad the Cardinals have been at putting teams away and running the football. They're in a good spot. It's going to be tough. This game is going to be close. There's no reason for this game to not be 26-21 like it was against the Saints. This is going to be a dogfight till the end. But I'm telling you now, the Niners are set up for another good game defensively, outside of the few Kyler Murray kind of superhuman-like plays that kind of escape the Cardinals, from a big third down or help the Cardinals convert a big play. It'll be close, but the Niners are set up to have another good game. One other aspect of the Cardinals' offense, as a team actually, is that they are right now through 2 games against the Saints and the Panthers. One of the big reasons they can't put these teams away is not just bad rushing offense late, bad offensive line play late. It's the penalties. And San Francisco has had their problems too. They were not great against Seattle, giving up penalties. They were better against the Saints, besides those 2 Stout and Siegel penalties late in the fourth quarter, I believe. But the Cardinals, through 2 weeks against bad teams, if you will, are the second most penalized team in football. Over 10 penalties called on the Arizona Cardinals through 2 games. You cannot give away free yards and expect to win. They are giving away 75 free yards per game. You cannot do that if you expect to win in the NFL. And San Francisco has had their problems in previous years, in 2021, in week 1 against the Seahawks, but they kind of reeled things back in, played a much more clean game against New Orleans. And if San Francisco can do that, the Cardinals are more apt to give you free yards than take free yards. They have Kyler, they have some weapons, McBride's great, Connor's good, but I'm telling you now, I'm kind of pushing you towards, it's going to be tough, going to be a dogfight, but there is a reasonable and optimistic mindset to have where San Francisco could win this game. Now, if San Francisco can't get pressure on the interior and they can't force Kyler out of the pocket to make some plays and force him to utilize his legs, they're going to be in trouble. if Green struggles to guard the deep ball, they're going to be in trouble, right? If for whatever reason the defensive line cannot bring down Connor, they're going to be in trouble, right? For every good thing I'm saying, if they don't do those things, they're going to lose this game. But I believe in San Francisco's defense. They are one of the best as of right now defenses in football. I have no reason to believe after back-to-back weeks of essentially saving this offense and winning them games via a game-winning strip sack fumble that they're going to come home and play bad. Now, maybe they're overhyped. Maybe they get called for a penalty early. D. Winters, watch out. You are one of those guys. But I think San Francisco is so much more well-equipped than last year, which we all saw last year. The games were close, but the Niners are set up better. And the stats do lean towards San Francisco being able to stop the Cardinals' offense more often than not. And if the Cardinals play like they have on offense the last 2 weeks, there will be a dry spell in that second half for San Francisco, even if they're down early, to come back, will themselves back, and hopefully win the game. Now, that does come into a factor when discussing the offense for the Niners because do you trust Mac Jones? Great against the Saints. Can he replicate that in Week 3 if he is indeed starting against the Cardinals? But first, I want to remind you guys, if you are wanting to get tickets to this game, Niners-Cardinals home opener, or you want to buy advance tickets to Week 4 against the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Rams game, SoFi Stadium, Niner fans, you want to pack SoFi out and pack out Levi Stadium South out, use our promo code 40 Niners Access, 49 ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com. You can save yourself $20 off your first purchase. I love SeatGeek. It is the #1 ticketing app in the entire country. Concerts, sporting events. My wife uses it. I think she bought Tame Impala tickets. She's going there. On SeatGeek.com, whether it's baseball games, basketball games, we are a SeatGeek family, and I'm hoping you'll join us in being part of that too. $20 off your first purchase. Promo code 49ers Access. All caps, 49 ERSACCESS.
As a scientist, I can tell you that Sundays are only 24 hours long. But with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get every game every Sunday all in one place. That's upwards of 30 hours of NFL in one day. How can there be 30 hours in 24 hours, you ask? I have a theory. Magic. New users get NFL Sunday Ticket for 8 payments of $34.50 per month. Sign up at NFLSundayTicket.com. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games and commercial use. Terms and embargoes apply. Availability varies.
Okay. The San Francisco 49ers offense, probably led by Mac Jones at this point. We are going to get word as to if Brock Purdy is starting or playing at least at some point today. They haven't announced it yet. There is no practice report as we speak at 11:55 a.m. on Thursday. So I'll just say this. It doesn't matter which quarterback is starting on Sunday. Outside of Brock having mobility and being a playmaker, I believe Mac Jones is capable of beating this Cardinals defense. And I'll say it right there and then. This Niners offense with Mac Jones, with no George Kittle, can beat this Cardinals defense, who has played pretty well the last 2 weeks. 22 points against the Panthers given up and 13 against the Saints. That said, this is the third consecutive week, albeit different teams, they are going to face a Vic Fangio-style defense. This was Brandon Staley's defense against the Saints. This was somewhat of Mike McDonald's defense against the Seahawks, although albeit they run more 3 safety sets and they'll do 2 high and discover and kind of hide their press coverages, whereas the Cardinals are a Vic Fangio-style defense. Jonathan Gannon calling plays. They're going to play more single high safety. They're going to stack the box, make you beat them, right? They're going to make you beat them on the ground. They're going to force you, like San Francisco does at times, to, beat you on third down, where San Francisco has the second highest third down conversion rate in football. And Mac Jones last week had 3 touchdowns on third down. There is reason to believe if that success continues, or even if it is a little bit less on Sunday against the Cardinals, that Mac Jones has enough juice to beat the Cardinals this Sunday. They're going to play cover 1. They're going to play cover 3. Again, a very similar defense to the New Orleans Saints, albeit, again, more wrinkles into it because Staley is a sitting duck and doesn't change much, whereas the Cardinals, they'll disguise some stuff. It'll be more like the Seahawks, if you will, but not as good of it. They don't have the personnel to match the Seahawks defense, but there are similar play styles in there. Gannon is really good at setting up and scheming up free rushers at the quarterback. He'll disguise blitzes. He is someone that on third down, if his defense can get you into third down, he'll find ways to bring guys home. He'll drop the edge rushers in coverage. He'll utilize linebackers on blitzes. He'll bring on, the nickel backs to get you. Like, he will disguise coverages. And I wouldn't be shocked if at some point in this game, and it's one of the reasons why the Cardinals have gotten out to big leads early, because they're able to get young quarterbacks, Rattler and Young, on third downs, mix things up, and kind of freak them out to a certain extent of, I thought I saw this, but it was that. I don't think that'll happen under Kyle Shanahan's offense. I'm sorry, but Kellen Moore and Dave Canales' offenses with the personnel they have is not Kyle Shanahan's offense with this personnel. This is by far the Cardinals' biggest offensive test this year for their defense. Whereas San Francisco is like, that same thing may go for our defense, but the Cardinals' defense is middle of the pack for their tests, right? The Seahawks are a much, much better defense. The Cardinals are middling, but they're okay. And they have done a phenomenal job this year, this offseason, adding a ton of starting caliber talent to the defensive line. Calais Campbell, nearing 40 years old, is still getting it done. Had the big game, stealing play against the Panthers last weekend. Josh Sweat gave him a big contract in the offseason. He's been great for them. Baron Browning brought in last year via trade with the Broncos. He took a couple weeks, but picked things up as the year went on. They have Zaven Collins, he's kind of changed positions, but is an edge rusher that can also play in coverage for them. They'll mix and match. They'll do things like the Eagles used to do back in 2023, right? They drafted Jordan Birch, brought in Dalvin Tomlinson. They brought in a ton of guys. They do an excellent job getting the opposing offenses to throw the football, forcing third downs, and allowing their offense ample time to score and getting out to early leads. Right now, because the Cardinals get out to early leads, it forces Panthers and the Saints to throw more often, thus run less. Through 2 weeks, the Cardinals' defense has forced opposing offenses to only attempt an average of 17 rushing attempts per game. That's why it makes, I think, their rushing stats look a little misleading. Now, to their credit, a lot of those rushing attempts are early in games where the game is closer. But once it gets late in the third quarter, fourth quarter, the Saints and Panthers are forced to throw multiple times and usually drive stall. Your stats become a little inflated. And again, credit is due to the Cardinals getting out to early leads and forcing opponents to throw late in games. But I think their rushing defense does look better because of that, and I don't think they're going to have that capability on Sunday against San Francisco. This game will be close, but it may come down to San Francisco running the football relatively successfully against the Cardinals. If they can do that, which the Niners, albeit, have not been very successful on the ground, you can feel it's coming along, and you hope that McKivitz and Brendel and Pooney and even Connor Colby, a 7th-round rookie, and Trent can hold their own if they can. And they can find lanes to run, open up lanes for Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson. The Niners will win this game. Now, you have to play clean football, you have to protect the quarterback, all those things remain, but the big difference is the Saints couldn't run the football. The Panthers couldn't run the football. I think Chuba Hubbard had 10 attempts against the Cardinals defense. McCaffrey is going to get more than 10 attempts against this defense. Kyle is an offensive coordinator that says, yeah, we're down by 3. Yeah, we're down by 7. We are still going to run the football. So watch out for that. That is a big, big stat. The Cardinals are only allowing their opponents to have 17 rushing attempts per game. If San Francisco can get 20, whether it's a 10-10 split, McCaffrey Robinson, or 15-5, they are probably going to be in a good spot to win this game. Also helping San Francisco on the ground is the Cardinals not having L.J. Collier on the interior of that defense. He has been their second best run-defending defensive tackle. That is a big loss for a team that, again, their MO is getting out early, forcing teams to not run the football late. That is a huge loss for them. Again, Calais Campbell's great. He has 2 sacks on the year, a great run defender still at his age. And even Jordan Birch, who I loved out of Oregon, really wanted San Francisco to draft him in the middle rounds, albeit I love West, Collins, and Micah Williams. He has been really good on early downs as an edge defender. Has a 9% run defense stop rate. It's pretty good. However, the Niners do possess an X factor that the Saints, albeit have on paper the same thing, don't have the play calling or the personnel to execute this, is Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey owns the Cardinals through 7 games. Now, I'm not expecting 2022 or really even Offensive Player of the Year Christian McCaffrey on the ground, but give me a semblance of that through 7 games as a rookie all the way to last year. 7 games against the Cardinals. McCaffrey has 100 career carries. That's a lot. 44 receptions, 144 total touches, over 1,000 yards, and 10 total touchdowns. He is averaging over 1 touchdown per game against the Cardinals, averaging clearly over 100 yards in total against Arizona's defense. And look, they have buried through their successes in previous years, so there is some context there, but he owns them. Hit a 4-touchdown game against the Cardinals in 2023, and the big caveat is here, the Niners through 2 weeks have not had a rushing touchdown. I will guarantee that will change this Sunday. The Cardinals don't have their best run defender. They're not going to be able to get out of an early lead. And if they do, Kyle is not going to abandon the run as quickly as Canales or Kellen Moore would do with the Saints. Shanahan, at times you saw it against the Seahawks, was like, hey, screw it. McCaffrey 13 times, go. The Niners will get their first rushing touchdown this weekend. They will be able to likely control the clock if they can run the football. And I think the stats, the history, the analytics would say they have a good chance of doing so against the Cardinals' run defense this Sunday. Again, the Cardinals have the Cardinals are a good defense. They're coached well. However, I just think San Francisco is in a good spot. They're in a good spot. They're playing well. They're at home. They won 2 games on the road. Sleep in your own bed. You have the extra day to kind of prep and not the travel and whatnot. Again, like that stuff matters. Now, to what extent, I don't know, but they're in a good spot. I think San Francisco is in a good place to be able to run the football, have a pretty high success rate, and another part of this, where I think once again leans San Francisco's way, is the Cardinals' secondary. Now, that doesn't take away the fact that the Cardinals' pass rush has been really good in the previous 2 weeks. Josh Sweat, Baron Browning, Jordan Birch, they all have over a 15% pass rush win rate. That's excellent. 10% is about where you want your starting guys to be. All of those guys are above 10%, around 15%, so that's really great. Those 3 guys have 21 pressures and 2 sacks, so about 7 pressures a pop, and nearly 1 sack apiece. And you can't forget Zaven Collins, who might be one of the most underrated edge rushers in football. He's been a more complete player this year than previous years. Good on the ground, good against the pass through 2 weeks. But while you can't forget that, the Cardinals' secondary is banged up. Like, we're talking, that guy's out, this guy's out. They might be down their top 4 cornerbacks. Now, their starting nickelback, Garrett Williams, was placed on IR. He's out for this game. Their assumed outside cornerback, Sean Murphy-Bunting, is also out in this game. So they're down one outside cornerback, their starting nickel. Okay, Ricky Pearsall. Okay, Juwan Jennings. Welcome to the show. That should make things easier for San Francisco. Will Johnson, again, could have been a first-round pick in this past year's draft. Injuries cost him. He's hurt. Didn't practice yesterday. There is concerns he might not play on Sunday. Well, there you go. They're down 2 outside cornerbacks maybe, and their nickelback. And then there is Max Melton, who played better last year, surprised some, was a good rookie, I believe. He also got hurt. He practiced yesterday, but even then, he was limited, and his status for Sunday is unknown. You could be down 4 starting cornerbacks. Now, my assumption is that Melton will play, thus giving you one of those guys. And if Will Johnson plays, they're in a much better spot. But Johnson has been good this year, but is somewhat fragile. I hate saying that because he's young and he's a great player, but he's been hurt a lot the last couple of seasons. And if those guys can't play, let's say that it's, Williams won't play, Murphy-Bunting won't play, let's say Johnson doesn't play, let's say Melton doesn't play, for example, the Cardinals will have to trot out there, be reliant on guys like Denzel Burke, a rookie 5th-round draft pick who has played well, a 63.5 PFF coverage grade, and a 55.7 pass rating allowed. But again, 5th-round pick.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
He's in his first year as a rookie. The odds are that the continual success, there will be good and bad games. This Sunday for San Francisco could be a good opportunity to target Denzel Burke. The other guys, though, Catrell Clark and Elijah Jones, much, much worse. Clark, a 66.5 coverage grade. Meanwhile, though, an 84.5 pass rating allowed. Not terrible, but, not the best place for you. And when these guys were playing, the Panthers were obviously passing the football late. These stats are somewhat jaded. They're somewhat skewed in the Cardinals' favor. And then Elijah Jones has never played a single snap in the NFL. Now, I'm sure they will disguise that. Maybe they'll play 3 safeties. Maybe they'll play, Dadarian, Taylor Demerson, who's had a pretty good year in coverage. I can see them doing that. You have Budda Baker. You have Jalen Thompson, albeit those 2 guys have not been great this year for them. They're playmakers, but not having a great 2 games. So my assumption is if the Cardinals secondary does not have 4 of their 5 cornerbacks, they'll play more 3 safety sets. They'll disguise their coverages more. They'll drop their edge rushers in coverage like the Eagles used to do. But they're in a pinch. And if you're reliant on guys like a rookie, 5th-round draft pick, Clark and Jones, who the latter's never played a single snap in the NFL, at least in coverage, you're not set up for success. And this next stat, the reason why I think San Francisco, no matter if it is Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, why I think they'll win this game is I dug deep. I got on PFF. I got into the computer. I said, what's the analysis? Where can I find Weapon X, the secret mystery ingredient as to why the Niners will win this game on Sunday? The Cardinals against Bryce Young, who they knew was throwing the football, and against Spencer Rattler, who, he's fine, he's not great, but the Saints are not a great offensive team. Against those two quarterbacks, against bad NFC South offenses that have young wide receivers, unproven guys in those offenses, right? The Cardinals have allowed opposing quarterbacks who, in my assumption, Bryce Young, albeit can be better than Mac Jones, the way he's played this year is not better than Mac Jones, albeit in 2 weeks of time. And Rattler got outplayed by Mac Jones last Sunday. If you're getting an elevated, somewhat quarterbacking play, and if Brock Purdy's out there, it gets even worse for the Cardinals, but they've allowed opposing quarterbacks to complete 34 of 45 passes over the middle of the football field. 75% completion rate for opposing quarterbacks over the middle of the football field. For, catch this, 1 touchdown, which, okay, not 10 touchdowns, but it's 1 touchdown for 365 yards. And you match that with the Niners having the second best third down conversion rate in football, an offense that loves to target the middle of the football field, which, despite the weapons the Saints and the Panthers have, San Francisco still being hurt, likely has the receivers of Jennings and Pearsall, and you have Christian McCaffrey, that will be able to operate at a high clip against the Cardinals in the middle of the football field. Come on, folks. I know we're worried. We're scared, albeit you have probably more confidence than you did against the Saints. Mac Jones, how is he going to play? I laid out for you history, analytical data, PFF grades, coverage grades, the way these two teams have played. And look, San Francisco is not perfect, right? Mac Jones could walk into week 3 feeling himself, wanting to gritty against this Cardinals defense and lay on a clunker. That's why you have Kyle Shanahan. That is why you have him leading this offense. That's why you have more confidence in this offense. That despite the variable that could be Mac Jones playing like dog crap, which is not out of possibility, Shanahan should be able to level the playing field like he did against New Orleans, make it easier for him, and hopefully open up guys for Jones to throw to. Like the Cardinals, if they don't have their starting secondary, is going to have a worse secondary than the Saints, than the Seahawks. Their pass rush, albeit is better than the Saints, is worse than the Seahawks. Their run blocking grade on offense is the second worst in football. Meanwhile, San Francisco having a pretty good year against the run. And the Cardinals also usually don't throw the ball deep, which they'll try against Green, as they should. San Francisco has the recipe for success against the Cardinals, whether it's Mac Jones or Brock Purdy. But there are 3 keys for me. One of them, already said it, Mykel Williams. If he's on the field, your run defense success grade jumps nearly 40%. And if you can get the interior pass rush, you are going to win this game. You're going to get Kyler under duress. And if the way Warner and Winters are playing and the way San Francisco has been tackling, they're going to be in a good spot to hold this offense at bay. And you heard Nick Bosa say, we've been watching the tape. I'm really excited to see what we have in store, what the game plan will be, and execute the game plan against the Cardinals offense. I'm intrigued by that. Mykel Williams, though, is a big key. The other key, take advantage of the Cardinals' banged-up secondary. They'll disguise their looks. They'll give you some tricky stuff. They will do what good coached defenses do. They'll drop the edge rushers in coverage. They'll play 3 safety sets. They'll play single high. They'll stack the box. They'll disguise things for Mac Jones. But if you can operate over the middle of the football field like Young and Rattler could, what does that do? It opens up the third key. Feed CMC. It sounds crazy. I do not want Christian McCaffrey getting 35 touches, but he had the highest success rate on the ground, nearly 60-70% against the Saints, the highest of his entire career. He is on the inches. He is about to break out for the first time this year. You operate at a high clip as a passer of an offense, like Mac Jones can be, like Purdy certainly can be too. If you can do that, that opens up the third key. Christian McCaffrey on the ground. He has owned the Cardinals. And look, the Cardinals are better than they were last year. The Cardinals are much better than they were last year. But Micah Williams, interior pressure, run defense. You do that, third down for the Cardinals, 17th ranked third down offense in football. You can win games that way. The Niners defense can win games that way. Mac Jones, middle of the field, Pearsall, Jennings. If the Cardinals are not going to have, which they're not going to have, they're starting nickelback. Hey, Juwan, third and Juwan, welcome to the party, brother. This is your game to thrive. They're going to give you 3 safety sets. They're going to put Budda Baker on him and Jalen Thompson. This is still your game to be the hero once again. Had a great game against the Saints. You are set up for another one against the Cardinals. And of course, Christian McCaffrey, 10 touchdowns, 1,000 yards, 145 touches against the Cardinals through 7 games. He is the owner. I want to see Christian McCaffrey score a touchdown, pull the Aaron Rodgers in Chicago and say, I own you. Who's your daddy? Me. Feed CMC. Final score prediction. It's going to be close. It's going to be tight. Pinheiro, make your kicks. Please make your kicks. San Francisco, play a clean game. The Cardinals, do not give the football up. This will be who punts the most, in my opinion. Can San Francisco hold the Cardinals offense at bay early and avoid having to play catch up? It's a lot. It's been an hour. I laid it out for you here nearly perfectly, I might add. There was some ums and buts and some sputtered words in there, but now you know what we're dealing with this Sunday. The score prediction here on the show. I believe the San Francisco 49ers advance to 3-0. Maybe I'm being overconfident. I'll take that risk, though. I think San Francisco wins 26-20. 6-point game, 1-score game. And this defense continues to be the reason they win. I'm not going to say a third consecutive week of a strip sack fumble, but 26-20. I think it's a good score. You're at home. Defense plays well. You survive the first initial push of the Cardinals. Christian McCaffrey gets in the end zone, maybe twice. Watch out for that. I think San Francisco wins 26-20. We are in for another nail-biting 1-score NFC West showdown, but I have San Francisco winning and becoming 3-0 and 2-0 against the NFC West to begin the year, which makes way for the hopeful return of Brock Purdy in week number 4. And don't forget, Demarcus Robinson comes back against the Jaguars. So a lot of good things heading San Francisco's way, but you have to win this Sunday. Come prepared, come ready, all gas, no brakes. Niners win. That's the prediction, 26-20. Drop your score predictions down below. Do you like what I'm telling you? Do you drink the Kool-Aid I'm putting in the pitcher and saying, hey, it's going to taste pretty good? If you are, comment down below what you think the 3 keys of victory for San Francisco will be this Sunday. Are you scared of Kyler Murray? Drop those comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the audio podcasting platforms. Leave us that 5-star review. You You can also follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter, and 49ers.access is the Instagram. My name is Sterling Bennett. Niners, Cardinals, Week 3, 125, Levi Stadium, home opener. Get your gear on, get your game face ready, get out there. Promo code 49ersaccess at SeatGeek.com, 49ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com. Let's go Niners, get the dub, get to 3-0, and as always, my name is Sterling Bennett, and until next time, stay faithful.